Now it's on this Saturday. That's in 2 days' time. It's Thursday today. This Saturday we'll be down the Wilson Park again. Now, what they did last Saturday, is they shut the gates, so a lot of people didn't get in or thought they were closed. So if you can, park up away from Wilson Park and walk to it. There's loads of back ways in, and that way you'll get in there. I'll be there from about 12 o'clock, and I hope to see you there, because we're there protesting this lockdown, this unlawful lockdown, as it's now looking more and more like. Right, so I'll see you there from 12 o'clock, Wilson Park. Let's let these bastards know that we're on to them, shall we? Vaccines are man-made diseases. We've got to stop calling chickenpox and measles diseases, because they're not. They're infections, and infections can come and go in a week up to 10 days and leave behind a lifetime of immunity. A disease is something that comes and stays and frequently can't be cured. So when you vaccinate to avoid an infection, what you potentially are doing is causing a disease. Dr. Sherry J. Tenpenny, DO, board certified in emergency medicine and osteopathic manipulative medicine. Brits in 1944 storming Normandy with a high probability of death. Brits in 2020 facing the bullshit with a 99.9% survival rate. The illusion of freedom will continue as long as it's profitable to continue the illusion. At the point where the illusion becomes too expensive to maintain, they will just take down the scenery. They will pull back the curtains, they will move the tables and chairs out of the way, and you will see the brick wall at the back of the theatre. Frank Zappa. A man of great influence. World Health Organization. Chief Medical Advisor to governments worldwide. Given over 4.3 billion. Imperial College London created the computer models which predicted and miscalculated the spread, impact and death rate of the bullshit. 280 million. Oxford University, 243 million. Poison Research and Development, 40 million to Professor Chris Whitty, England's Chief Medical Officer. 53 million to the BBC Media Action. 155 million to the CDC. Microsoft, Gavi, and that one I can't quite see. Dr. Anthony Fauci, Director of NINAID and Chief Medical Advisor to US Government. 18 million from Bill Gates, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. Johns Hopkins University provides data, statistics, maps and bullshit resources. 870 million. Gavi, Global Health Partnership with the goal of increasing immunization in poor countries. 3 billion. Can we see how this criminal is the reason we're in lockdown? The CDC is not an independent agency. It is a poison company. The CDC owns over 20 poison patents. It sells about $4.6 billion of poisons every year. RFK Jr. Bizarre EU-funded comic book predicted the bullshit with Globalists as saviours. A strange comic book that was commissioned for publication by the European Union in 2012 eerily predicted almost exactly what has unfolded with the bullshit global fakeness. However, in this programmed laced presentation of the outbreak, unelected globalist bureaucrats saved the planet. The comic book, titled Infected, was a production of the European Commission's International Cooperation and Development Arm. It was not intended for a widespread public consumption, but instead to be distributed inside EU institutions. Only a few hundred of the comic books were made. The EU's description of the strange publication states that while the story may be fictional, it is nonetheless intertwined with some factual information. The graphic novel depicts scientists inside a lab in China experimenting with deadly pathogens. Nothing to see here. Move along. Brunei expels World Health Organization bullshit team as election approaches. Officials say Health Minister has accused UN agency of unacceptable interference. Burundi has ordered the expulsion of World Health Organization, whose expert team backing the country's response to the bullshit just days before the country's elections. The foreign minister, in a letter to WHO Africa headquarters, has seen by AFP on Wednesday, said the UN's agency representative in Burundi and his 3 colleagues are declared persona non grata and as such must leave the territory of Burundi by Friday. The directive dated 12th of May expels the WHO's top officials in Brunei, Dr. Walter Kazadi Mulumbo, the country's bullshit coordinator, Dr. Jean-Pierre Mulundo Nakata, communicable disease head, Dr. Runa Mirandi Bishwaswa, and the laboratory expert in the test for bullshit, Professor Daniel Tazi. Anti-lockdown protests accelerate across Europe as second bullshit wave threatens. Of course, it'll only come if they release it, because they released the first one, so they'll have to release the second one, won't they? Anti-lockdown protesters were seen in several European cities on Saturday in defiance of social distancing restrictions, from the gatherings in London and Hyde Park to Poland to Germany and, of course, Woollerton Park in Nottingham. People were furious about government-enforced lockdowns. Warmer weather trends such as a heat wave across part of Europe could quickly affect mood negatively and lead to more social instabilities. These protests have been increasing over the last several weeks. Read, I want my life back. German anti-lockdown protesters worsen. Anti-lockdown protests clash with German police as bullshit spread accelerates. Police in several German cities had their hands full on Saturday as thousands of people lined the streets. Officials in Stuttgart said the permitted number of 5,000 demonstrators was quickly exceeded and mask wearing was required or people risked a €300 fine, $325. Nearly 5,000 people took part in the rally against bullshit restrictions in Stuttgart on Saturday, Germany's largest such protest over the weekend. On March 11th, Merkel said that the lockdown measures were necessary in order to win time to fight against the bullshit. Utter bullshit. Everyone can see that now. About 1,000 protesters were seen in Munich around the Thursway's event grounds, which is the site of the now cancelled Oktoberfest. We explained last month that the cancelling of the event has severely impacted the local economy and could devastate local brewers and to hop farmers. Protesters in both Stuttgart and Munich were angry about lockdown measures enforced by Chancellor Angela Merkel. Other demonstrators were made about rumours of vaccine plan by Bill Gates. That's what we're meeting for on Saturday at Woollerton Park, because we're pissed off about the lockdown. Or should I say, we ain't taking no poison. Bars and restaurants allowed to reopen if they agree to snitch on customers. Yeah, that's right. If you're anything like me, you are looking forward to finally getting out of your house and maybe having a few drinks or a nice dinner at your local bar or restaurant. But going out to your local bar or restaurant once the bullshit lockdown ends comes with a steep price. That's because 3 cities in Louisiana, Texas and Missouri will only allow non-essential businesses to reopen if they agree to collect customer personal information. According to NOLA Ready, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and the City of New Orleans are creating a new normal by forcing bars and restaurants to collect customers' personal information. We know everyone is eager to reopen. It's not going It's not going back to normal. It's what we're calling the new normal. Well, we ain't having a new normal. You can piss off and stick that where the sun don't shine. By forcing bars and restaurants to collect customers' personal information, it will be the data that, and not the date, that drives not only the decision but the phased approach to reopen City of New Orleans. Today we are outlining what those guidelines will be for the city, and said Mayor Latoya Contrell. Forbes.com explains the new normal. We ain't having a new normal, we're having a normal is for bars and restaurants to become government snitches. New Orleans Mayor Latoya Cantrell announced business owners will be required to keep logs of the names, and yeah, you can piss off. You're not getting my name, I can tell you that for nothing. New evidence shows wearing face masks can help bullshit enter the brain and pose more health risk, warns expert. Dr. Russell Blaylock, a retired US neurosurgeon and author, cautious that face masks cannot entirely protect you from getting sick and catching pathogens. He adds that it can also pose a serious health risk for wearers. He stresses that only ill people should wear face masks, not you if you're healthy, which I've been saying all along. Since the bullshit started, people everywhere have been wearing protective equipment such as face masks, face shields and gloves. Wearing gloves in the public places such as a grocery has been previously debunked as unhelpful or possibly harmful, especially if if not used properly. Are face masks effective against bullshit? The Cleveland Clinic says that gloves do not provide immunity from viruses, and it doesn't permit you to touch everything within reach. According to Dr. Blaylock, there have been no studies conducted to establish that either a cloth mask or a N95 mask has an impact of the transmission of the bullshit. It was not until recently that the Commission of Disease Control and Prevention changed its guidance for wearing face masks. Previously, they only advised sick people to wear protective masks, but now they encourage everyone to wear them when out in public, since it has been found that some could be asymptomatic carriers of the bullshit. The CDC also has guidelines for wearing cloth masks to slow the spread of the bullshit. Harmful effects of wearing face masks. Aside from the lack of scientific evidence pointing to requiring the use of a face mask for preventative measures, several studies have explored the damages of wearing a face mask, especially for long periods. These dangers include increased airway resistance, accumulation of carbon dioxide, hypoxia or inadequate oxygen supply, headaches and even other life-threatening complications. In a study conducted by National Taiwan University Hospital, it has been found that the use of an N95 mask in health workers has caused them to experience hypoxia, the low level of oxygen in the blood, and hypocapnia, an elevation in the blood's carbon dioxide levels. But reposted, but they bogus as hell to make people pay a bullshit tax. And at 26%, is that what they are doing? As you can see there, bullshit, 26%. They're going to get you to pay for all this bullshit that they've caused. US prepared to take Google to court. US TV groups to see serious fall in Q2 revenue. In today's Exchange Wire News Digest, the US government is reportedly gearing up to take Google to court over its monopolization of the digital ad market. US TV groups prepare to see serious revenue losses during this quarter as companies continue to rein in ad spend, and analysts warn markets to get ready for the end of the bullshit if they want to stay afloat. US government prepared to take Google to court over anti-competitive behaviour. Google could soon find itself in the midst of a legal battle after reports surfaced that the US government is preparing to sue the tech giant. The government is alleged allegedly being a case against Google for anti-competitive behaviour, which has seen the search engine effectively monopolise the digital ad market. According to sources, the Justice Department and a group of state attorneys were getting ready to file an antitrust lawsuit against Google and are pushing for the case to be heard within a matter of months. Those involved have stated that the object of the case is to examine Google's network and investigate the extent of its advertising operation. The Alphabet-owned tech giant is already under investigation by state attorneys from across the entire US, which launched an antitrust probe to examine the firm's dominant presence. Google was also penalised by the EU's antitrust regulations last year for abusing its position in the market and fined £1.3 million. Whilst evidently not Google's first brush with regulations over its market presence, it will be fascinating to see how the US builds its case against the tech giant, as well as the impact the suit will have on its market presence. Imagine a man who forced his wife to stay away from her friends, family and job. Imagine he also told her she should not leave the house unless absolutely necessary and to cover her face and avoid people if she does go out. Imagine he threatened her with punishment if she didn't submit. Would you call this abuse? It does not stop being abuse when the government does it. You might not want to hear this, but forcing people to wear masks has nothing to do with safety. It's an experiment to see who's a follower and who isn't. A story that teaches a new lesson every time you read it. In India, the spirit of the plague passed an old man sitting under a tree. Old man, where are you going? Spirit, to Barnas, to kill 100 people. Later, the old man heard that in Barnas 10,000 had died. Then the spirit of the plague passed again on its return journey. Old man, you lied. You said you would kill 100. Spirit, I killed 100. Fear killed the rest. Kawasaki from Vax. Kawasaki disease, a serious condition that can affect the heart. Symptoms may include fever, rash and red eyes, red mouth, swollen glands, swollen hands and feet, and is not treated, death can occur. Bad vomiting, bad diarrhea, severe stomach pain, blood in the stool. One of the biggest frauds ever. Anti-lockdown protests, Hyde Park, London. Cops enforcing the bullshit sanitation protocols. They don't follow themselves. Judge declares Oregon Gov Brown's bullshit restrictions null and void. Salem, Oregon. A judge in rural Oregon on Monday tossed out statewide bullshit restrictions imposed by Democratic Governor Kate Brown, saying she didn't seek the legislative approval to extend the stay-at-home orders beyond 28-day limit. Baker County Circuit Judge Matthew Shirtcliffe issued his opinion in response to a lawsuit filed earlier this month by 10 churches around Oregon that argued that the state's social distancing directive were unconstitutional. Brown filled paperwork within hours seeking an emergency review by the Oregon Supreme Court and a hold on the ruling until the High Court could take it up. Her attorneys had asked the judge to stay his ruling until that time, but he declined. In a statement, Brown said, "The science behind these executive orders hasn't changed one bit. Ongoing physical distancing, staying home as much as possible, and wearing face coverings will save lives across Oregon." In a 7-page opinion, Shirtcliffe wrote that the damage to Oregonians and their livelihood was greater than the dangers presented by the bullshit. He also noted that other businesses deemed essential, such as grocery stores, had been allowed to remain open even with large numbers of people present and have relied on mass social distancing and other measures to protect the public. Check your bills. Some businesses are adding a bullshit surcharge. You may see increased costs when you get to your bill at establishments like restaurants and hair salons, as many are adding a bullshit surcharge. Businesses have been adding the charge to the bill to help cover extra expenses related to the bullshit. Ozark Cafe in West Plains, Missouri is one restaurant that has added a 5% surcharge. The owner cited rising food prices and diminished meat supplies as a reason for the levy. Every day there's something else that they can't get, or the prices have gone up exorbitantly, co-owner Heather Hughes told KY3. Some restaurant managers and owners have even seen meat prices doubling as a result of the effects of the bullshit. Other restaurants in West Plains area have advertised the surcharge so customers aren't surprised when they receive the bill. While not every customer is a fan of the added price, many are the understanding of the restaurant's decision. I absolutely support it, Maylee Stewart said. I think it's a good thing for the US, for us as a community to help support our local business. It's really not a lot. They're really not adding too much on the total. I think mine it was 66 cents today, and I'd pay more if they needed it. The surcharge is expected to be temporary. One restaurant manager said, once food prices return to a sense of normalcy, the surcharge will no longer be seen as customers' receipts. If it's not just restaurants adding the surcharge, KYLD reports North Dakota-based MJ Capelli Family Hair Salon decided to add a bullshit surcharge as well. The company released a statement saying it is because state restrictions have increased operating costs. Bullshit. Peter Ebdon, former snooker champion, promotes bullshit conspiracy theory during BBC interview. Peter Ebdon has used a BBC interview to promote a conspiracy theory around the bullshit. The former world snooker champion believes that the government's social distancing guidelines are harmful. More than 34,000 people have died from the bullshit in the UK, with thousands more affected, except, of course, they didn't die from that. They died from natural causes, or cancer, or pneumonia, but they put down it was from the bullshit. The UK has been in lockdown since March, with the public encouraged to limit trips outside and to maintain their distance from each other when they do so. Ebdon, who famously beat Stephen Hendry to take the world title at the Crucible back in 2002, believes the public are being brainwashed. There's an awful lot of brainwashing going on at the moment, Ebdon said on the BBC Radio 5 Live. We're facing the greatest psychological operation in history, and I agree. Is social distancing harmful? Yes. Is it? It probably is. People need to shake hands. They need to build up their immunity. I absolutely agree with him. Social media user were quick to criticise Ebdon's comments. Not from me. I'm saying well done, mate, for realising what's going on. One tweeted Peter Ebdon interview on BBC 5 Live now. Bastard crazy. Batshit crazy. He's going full conspiracy theory, claiming social distancing should end, media brainwashing, energy healing. He's a public figure. His opinion be white, dangerous and disgraceful to allow him airtime. No, it's not. Anyone can have the airtime, or should be able to. Another added, Peter Ebdon is an outstanding snooker player, although perhaps not always the most gripping to watch. His opinions knocking the credibility of scientific peer-reviewed approach to giving credible advice are the empirical evidence on which is based are laughable. There is no evidence that social distancing 2 meters makes any difference whatsoever, because viruses can't pass through the air. So that's more bullshit that we're being told about. Ebdon is not the first sportsman to come out publicly with conspiracy theory. It's not conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy relating to the pandemic. Former Arsenal and England defender Sol Campbell earlier this month claimed that the virus was man-made, while boxer Amir Khan suggested it was linked to kill weapon phone networks. Make it illegal to persistently spread bullshit conspiracy theories, MP urges. Piss off. It should be made illegal to have an opinion. That's what they're saying. Like David Icke, to spread what's really going on online, as an MP has said. A number of well-known names with large social media followings have been key distributors of real information during this fake research shows. The spread of baseless theories linking kill weapon to ill health led some members of the public to set fire to network masks, while false and dangerous claims that disinfectant could be used to treat the bullshit were even reported by US President Donald Trump. No, he was pointing out that the disinfectant is in the already poison weapons. Conservative MP Damian Collins, who has launched a fact-checking service called Infotagion to combat falsehoods during the bullshit, told the PA news agency disinformation can kill people. Well, then you need to stop saying it, don't you? Amir Khan, Eamon Holmes and Amanda Holden have been criticised for sharing real information online during the bullshit. It can lead them to make the wrong decisions about what's good for them and their family, and is in the most extreme courses, it can lead them to take a drug or a treatment that could be dangerous to their health. Mr. Collins, former chairman of the Commons Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee, said there need to be requirements in law to stop people who are persistently telling the truth online, such as Mr. Icke. It's not good enough that we just have to remove certain posts that are wrong, he said, even though they're true. If there is a certain channel, group or individual that is persistently pushing this information out there, then that sort of malicious abuse on social media in a public health emergency should be an offence. No, what's the offence is you trying to bring a dictatorship, but while everyone else is just telling them what they've learned. When they ask why I'm not wearing a mask, because I'm not brainwashed. Here are the survival rates for bullshit. America, 99.983%. Spain, 99.956%. Germany, 99.944%. Italy, 99.957%. France, 99.965%. Britain, 99.972%. Wherever that one is, 99.975. These are survival rates, not death rates, not infectious rates. These are survival rates. So you've all been going crazy, which 99.9 of you is going to have no effect whatsoever. Bullshit society. Epstein clearly being murdered in a max security prison while all security cameras were turned off before he could rat out the world's elite that are also paedophiles society. Where's my white stick? Activists have been on social media for years warning people about our current reality. Seeds that were planted years ago are beginning to take root and blossom. They try so hard to silence us because their greatest fear is a mass awakening. Bullshit. Pensioner backs do not resuscitate legal action against Matt Wancock after brutal phone call with GP. Lawyers challenging Health Secretary Matt Wancock amid concerns over systematic violations of human rights. An 81-year-old woman has asked to agree to a do not resuscitate order being put on her medical records during a brutal 5-minute telephone call with a doctor she didn't know and had never seen. Kathleen Robertson, a former legal secretary, has now backed a bid for a judicial review against Health Secretary Matt Wancock over the government's refusal to set out clear national rules on do not resuscitate and end-of-life decisions, despite lawyers say example of systematic violations of human rights across the country. Yes, Matt Hancock guilty of systematic abuse of human rights. Miss Robertson, who lives independently in sheltered accommodation near Cambridge, contacted the Independent after reading about a bid for a judicial review against the Health Secretary by Kate Masters, whose mother, Janet Tracy, died at Addenbrooke's Hospital in 2011 after a do not resuscitate order was made without her or her family's knowledge. Her family later won a landmark judgment at the Court of Appeal, which gave patients a new legal right to be consulted over do not resuscitate decisions. Miss Robertson said he was contacted out of the blue by a doctor at Lakeside Health Centre in St Neots in the start of April. It's been 7 hours and 52 days since you took my pub away. Please wait here until you realise your government is brainwashing you. Imagine, if you would, conventional fabric softener and detergents contain a secret ingredient which makes customers addicted. The only way a consumer could buy these products is if you were completely unaware of the fact that more than 4 different narcotics are in the blanket term fragrance listed on the bottle. These chemicals are known EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, which greatly reduce testosterone levels in men and cause hormonal imbalances in women as well. Contrary to popular belief, this is not by accident, but in fact a part of an international chemical attack on humanity. Let this sink in. Certificate of Vaccination Identification. Aware yet? One major benefit of pears: removes aluminium from body. Also, all foods with high silicon content, bananas, green beans, carrots, brown rice. Open your minds. Didn't expect that, did you? How can I end the lockdown? Grow this. Sir, can you tell us how you got the bullshit? Breaking. Protesters leave their homes to protest protesters who left their homes. How many lives is your haircut worth? Yes, they're protesting, people protesting. It's madness. That's how mad things are. What's the emergency? Someone is telling the truth on YouTube.
If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. Joseph Goebbels.